Welcome to the first ever Talking with JM episode. IAmGoodOlJM, coming to you from CSB Studios in Tampa, Florida, the birthplace of pro wrestling. And I am so privileged and proud to say that my very first guest ever is of wrestling royalty. And she is the daughter of one of the best legends ever, which I did have the pleasure to meet many years ago. Don't ask how long because I want to give away. But his name, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. And I am here with his daughter, Georgia Smith.
Hello.
Thank you for doing this. Just want to say that right off the bat. Really appreciate it. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad I'm your very first guest. And coincidentally, I decline lots of interviews and podcasts and stuff. So I'm glad we got to this worked.
I was not aware of that, but thank you very much. That really means a lot to me personally, not only as a human being, but as a fan as well. I followed your family for many years in the pro wrestling business. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about you.
Yeah.
You who is Georgia Smith, and the ins and outs of personality and what the future holds. So, Georgia, you were born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
I was born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Some might say that's the birthplace of wrestling.
True.
But I was born there to David and Diana Hart. David Smith and Diana Hart.
Right.
Those are my parents. I'm 31 now. Born in 87. Was born in the actually my brother would have been born really in the heat of things with the British Bulldogs and stuff. I was born in the late 80s when that was kind of fizzling out a bit. But yeah.
Well, that was around the same time I started watching the whole hype about, or around, I should say, WrestleMania 3. And then later on, they added a new annual event, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
And that was around the time I started, okay, you got my attention, and ever since I've stuck around. So you can imagine how much I've learned since then. Not so much on the insides, but I know some things need to be kept secret just a little bit. Do you know how your parents met?
How my parents met? Well, through wrestling. My mom saw a picture of my dad because he was trying to do Stampede Wrestling or get into wrestling here in Canada because his cousin, Tom Billington, got into it and he was successful with it. And so my dad contacted my grandfather, Stu, and sent his pictures and a letter just saying his experience and things like that. So much easier back then.
I bet it was.
Well, you know what I mean.
Right.
And my mom saw his picture and she was like, that's the guy I'm going to marry.
Who is that?
And because she kind of liked Dynamite Kid a bit. She was like, oh, my God. Like, my mom kind of had, like, this little sheltered life. And, like, this British guy came and Dynamite. And she was like, oh, his accent. Wow. And then once it was, like, Davey, who was, like, the younger, better-looking one. And it was like, oh, my God. My dad's only a year older than my mom, so it's closer in age as well. And she put his picture in her locker and was like, opened it every day, and oh my God. And then he showed up to the house one day. He came from South Africa. He was wrestling there. He was about 17, believe it or not, 17 or 18. And it was like the early 80s, early 1980s. And he came into the house, and my mom, she heard he was coming, and she went to the bathroom at first and back combed her hair like in the 80s and then flipped it up and was like walked down the stairs, and he had like this big like wound on his arm, and it was from like a crazy bug bite in South Africa. And my mom saw it and he was like, oh, do you have a plaster? My mom had no idea what a plaster was. For those of you who don't know what a plaster is, it's a British way for a Band-Aid. And she was like, yeah, I've got that. She had no idea what it was, and then she ran around the house and was like, Mom, to her mom, and she's like, I need a plaster. What's a plaster? And my grandmother Helen was like, oh, darling, that's a Band-Aid. He needs a Band-Aid. That's what the British people call Band-Aids. And she was like, oh, okay, well, I got that for him. And that's how they met. It was, I believe, the front door there, and then that was it.
That was it. And
yeah.
And then they did mommy and daddy things.
She tended to his wound. And but my dad was like super, I guess, hard to get. Because like he was told, like, you don't talk to the boss's daughter. You don't, like, you're here for work. Like, and my mom was like, I need you. Pay attention to me. And my mom was always like calling like his house that he was living at with Dynamite and Brett. And then if he'd pick up, she'd hang up.
Aww.
Like all the time. And then one day he was just playing solitaire I like playing solitaire as well. And she just kept calling. And he's like, who keeps calling? I'm playing my game. And she was like, oh, I just wanted to know if you wanted to see a movie with me. And he was like, okay. And I think, I don't know, he did go. And I think it was a Burt Reynolds movie. And then they kind of secretly kept dating. And Dynamite was kind of wanting to get my dad out of there. Dynamite was kind of a bully in those days. And would like X-lax all my dad's like protein drinks and coffees. And my dad would be like, you know, just to, pardon my language, just be an asshole. Just like, what do you, but that's the way it was. Like, you know, he was the younger cousin and Dynamite was there first. And it was like, no, he's not, you know, you're going to go, I'm going to stay. And then my dad was at the point where he was like, I can't stay here anymore. And Dynamite and him had a match, and like he cut my dad, and like he actually like cut out an artery or something. Wow. But Brett did tell my dad, he's like, don't let Tom blade you. Don't trust him. And he's like, no, he will. He'll look out for me in that match. Wow. And he's like, won't you, Tom? And Tom's like, yeah. And then in the match, he just.
Is that the famous scar that he had on his forehead? Wow.
No. That was if you look in my grandpa's book, there's a picture of my dad that's got blood all over, and he's in a singlet. That was that match. He was like in like 82 or something. Oh, okay. I always that scar on his head was from a car accident. He went through a window. Okay, and broke his ribs. And yeah, he broke his neck, I think, as well. So yeah, Dynamite wanted him out of the picture, and then my dad was like all ready to go. He's like, I can't, because my dad was trying to put on weight, and Dynamite kept, you know, giving him X-lax, and then Brett was like, you need to stop living with him. You're gonna live with me. That's what it was. He was living with Dynamite at first, and then Brett said, you're gonna live with me. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. And then that's when Davey lived with Brett, and then he just, you know, flourished.
Got to know better
and was like, yeah, I'm not living with him again, no thanks. And then Dynamite moved on to somebody else to harass. Oh. Yeah.
So how was your childhood growing up? Favorite cartoons, favorite movies, things to do?
Oh, God, I had a really good childhood, actually. I think that's why I like Florida so much, because my I don't really have any early memories of Canada, because I was like 3 when we moved here in like 91, so I was like super young. So yeah, it was just being with my cousins, Natty and Jenny and Muffy, my Uncle Jim's daughters, and just being with my aunt and Uncle Jim and Ellie, my mom and dad, Harry, like we were always together. Favorite cartoons? Well, my God, it's probably why I've got ADD now, because like I just sat and watched cartoons all day. Oh God, I loved like My Little Pony. I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons until later on. Yeah, my mom was like strict with that. She didn't like. Oh, she pulled the plug on Ren and Stimpy. I loved Ren and Stimpy, and then she's like, "No, you're not watching this anymore." Rugrats. She kind of gave me a little leeway with that. Yeah, I had like I had such a good childhood. I really did, and I was like a super spoiled kid as well. Like my mom and dad, like anything I wanted, they gave me. Like they did. Wow. And they wanted me to have like a really good life, and my brother as well. Like, you know, yeah. If there's anything else that comes up, I'll let you know. But those are the mains.
Just let it out. You know,
yeah, let it out. Purge.
In the middle of a conversation. Oh, by the way.
I really liked Tom and Jerry.
There you go. Oh, who didn't? That was one of the best ones. So, from what you do remember and what you just mentioned, which one would you love to see make a comeback? Like favorite cartoon?
Favorite cartoon?
Yeah.
Well, I heard they did something with Rocko's Modern Life. I don't really know what I think about that, because I love the original.
Like they're doing Netflix. They're doing the comeback for She-Ra.
Yeah, She-Ra I was too young for.
Yeah, looks, well, I haven't seen it yet. I don't think it debuted yet, but it looks so different. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think they've got a new My Little Pony.
Yes.
They've got that. I love the Muppet Babies.
Oh, yeah.
I hope they don't do anything with that. I loved, did you ever watch on Saturday mornings? It was like on ABC. And it was like, oh my God, they had like a whole strip of shows, and there was like a little mouse on a motorcycle, and one of the, me and my brother always remember that show. There was a little mouse on a motorcycle. I can't remember that, but it was, oh God, it was on ABC in the mornings. What year were you born?
Oh, yeah, let me out here now.
Because like you might not know these shows that we were into.
I might, but did the mouse have a patch on his eye? Was that him?
No, you're thinking of
that was Danger Mouse.
Danger
right?
Mouse.
Oh, okay, no.
No, this was like, it was like a little puppet mouse, like an actual like.
Oh, I might not have seen that one. I remember Mighty Mouse. How many mices were there? I mean, besides the big one, Mickey, but nobody messes with Mickey.
Oh, I love Disney. I love Disney. Love Disney. I wanted to be like a Disney princess when I grew up.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a chance, isn't there?
Yeah, there's still a chance.
You know.
You never know.
I mean, your mom wasn't she?
She was Miss Calgary.
Right.
Mrs. Calgary, sorry. She'd get mad at me.
Oh, yeah. I might want to edit that part out. Yeah. Just skip it to the next question. So in junior high school and high school, what were your favorite subjects? Not,
man,
first boyfriend experience like that. No, favorite subjects.
Oh, God. And junior high, I really hated junior high. Like, I'm surprised that I even, like, graduated and stuff because I just hated school. Like, I don't know. I don't agree with, like, well, maybe it's different now, but when I was in school, it's like I was labeled as coded,
right,
which meant that, like, I didn't learn like everybody else. Like, I was always, I don't know, like, for some reason, like, I was just, like, incapable of listening. And then when I did listen and I was given, like, okay, here's your task, I'd be like, I don't know what to do. And that was, like, every day of my life. And then they put me in, like, this class. Did you ever see that movie, Superstar, with Molly Shannon?
Yes.
Yeah, that was like a class. Yeah, I was in a class like that.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and, like, with, like, the ADHD kids. And, yeah, it was super fun. There was, like, 8 of us. Or if you've ever seen that horrible movie When Harry Met Lloyd, that Dumb and Dumber, that one, when they're, like, in the stupid class.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, like, the class I was in. But I was labeled as stupid. Aww. So, yeah, but I'm so glad I was put in that class because if I had to stay in the other class, I would have, like, just stopped going to school. But this class, I gained confidence and I was actually learning, and I would come earlier and talk to the teachers and be like, right, can you teach me about chemistry? I want to understand, because, like, when it came to exam time, I wanted to know what I was doing, and I was always super anxious with that. But in school, I was good at science. I was very good at science. I got the highest mark in my science exam.
Nice.
In my coded class. Art. I was good with art. I didn't really get the best art marks, but I enjoyed art. I mean, whatever. But for whatever reason, she hated me or something. Oh.
There's always that one teacher.
There was always that one teacher. I did this, like, crazy Bugs Bunny picture, and she gave me, like, a 6 out of 10 on it. And I was like, and she's like, it's too simple. If you see this picture, I had to draw, like, 50 carrots. I had to, oh my God. I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I want your thoughts if it's, like my Uncle Brett, 4 out of 10. Just kidding. No, it was. She gave me like a 6 out of 10, and I was like, burn.
Even your Uncle Brett's an artist himself.
Yeah. I think that's where I get my Aunt Ellie. She's really, really good with art and just making things. This is the Bugs Bunny picture I did.
Wow. And your teacher called that too simple?
Yeah.
That mouse would be hanging up somewhere in the Warner Brothers store right now.
Thank you.
Because it's so, I mean, obviously you guys can't see it, but it looks like she was working for Looney Tunes back in the day.
And I made this when I was 15.
Wow. And that was just straight from your imagination? That wasn't a part of a scene anywhere from a cartoon? No, see? Something's in a 6 out of...
Yeah, so there you go. But I really enjoyed doing that. It was really therapeutic, coloring. I think I got, like, a little high with the permanent marker. I was like, whoa, I got dizzy.
Inspiration.
And I liked performing arts in school. Those were my top 3. I hated gym class, and we had to wear these stupid uniforms and, like, shorts, and I hate wearing shorts. Anybody that knows me knows I don't like to wear skirts. I don't like to wear shorts because, thanks to courtesy of my mom, I've got, like, these huge legs and, like, like, giant, like, actual, like, knees. Like, my kneecaps are, like, gigantic. So I don't, like, I was always, like... And you had to wear the singlet. It'd be, like, freezing cold outside. You'd have to run around the school, and they'd be like, well, that's your outfit. I'd be like, oh, man.
I have a teacher's note or something.
Yeah, no. But, like, my dad was better with that because I'd be like, well, I don't get anything out of this. And my dad would be like, okay, well, I'll just tell them you're not going. But my mom would be like, you're going. And I'd be like, okay. My dad gave in a little bit more. My mom... No. yeah, those were my top 3 in junior high. High school, honestly, I don't really have a lot of memories of it. I think I blanked out a lot of it. I think I had some like depression and things that I just like blanked a lot of things out, and like I don't even really remember a lot, if I'm honest. But I was good in science.
Okay.
I got the highest mark in grade 12 again for my science exam. Highest mark out of everybody. So, yeah. I didn't take art in high school because my mom told me she had that same art teacher when she was in like the school in the 80s.
Wow.
And she said he was a big dickhead then. So I was like, yeah, fast forward like 25 years. I'm not going.
Some things never change.
No, so I didn't do that. I did drama there, and it really, really put me off drama because she was like, the lady was, she was so weird. She was just like, she just made drama not fun, like performing arts not fun. Like she would like get like these masks for us to wear. I don't know, like these weird like mime masks, and she'd be like, you need to express yourself, la la la. And then she wanted us for our final project to make like a scene from a movie, and I made like, me and my cousin Natty made like this crazy scene from How to Kill a Mockingbird, and like super glued everything, and like had like these little antique things, and she gave me again like a shitty mark. And when you get things like that, like it just like discourages you and just makes you feel like, and you're like, oh my god. But yeah, I was just like, I still didn't want to give up like my like performing stuff, but that really like kicked me then, like back then as well, especially, you know, having just lost my dad and stuff. I was like, wow, this sucks. What am I going to do now? Because she's really taken like the love out of it. But you know, I got over it.
Yeah. At that point in time, you had a lot going on, obviously, in your family, and at the time also you were extremely young, and I would assume at that point in time your mind was still developing on other things, and teachers, well, particularly the ones you mentioned, didn't really consider that, and just you know, I'm not changing my ways because this and this is going on or that and that happened. Just you know, do what you got to do, and I do what I'm doing as always.
Exactly.
And that's
like my dad. I remember talking to him, and he was like, you know, maybe like we should consider homeschooling, and like, you know, you do your work on your pace and how you want to do it, and like, you know, get like an online tutor to help you. So he understood, but my mom, not saying anything about my mom, but my mom was like, no, she was like, you need to go out, you need to socialize, you need to, but I hated school. I hated it. Like, and like going back now, I'm like, yeah, I kind of wish like I could have maybe done homeschooling, and like I see these homeschooling kids and they're like super smart, but you know, hey, I did it. Got the little paper and everything. So cool.
Yeah. Hang that up next to your Bugs Bunny picture. I mean, this led to that. So
yeah, exactly.
Do you speak any other types of languages, or is this one you want to learn?
It's funny you should ask that. No, I don't. I would like to learn Spanish.
Really?
Because I'm always in Florida, and like I think with like I don't look Spanish or anything, but I think because I've got dark hair, a lot of people assume I speak Spanish. So I would just like to learn, just so I can, if somebody, if like was in an emergency or something, or if they needed something, I would be like, I don't know what you're saying. I can be like, habla, and help.
In some cases, yo no sé lo que estás diciendo, señora.
Exactly.
Yo no sé nada. Te estás fregado porque.
Yeah, that. I would like that, but it was funny because my mom was just visiting, and Harry and I would say something to each other, and she'd be like, every time I walk in the room, you two are talking some carny language. I don't know what you guys are saying. Every time. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking in some other language. I'm like,
Well, it could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse.
You ever seen Sesame Street and those aliens that came down and they run into certain objects and they start learning? It's like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's a clock. Yep. You ever seen that?
I haven't seen that.
This is one of the between them and the Swedish Chef from the Muppets. They always they always had me rolling with their unique accents.
Oh yeah, Beaker. Yeah.
Beaker. Oh, forget it. Beaker. You recently got back into fitness. Is that correct? Yeah. So. Yeah. And how's that going?
Well, I took like a week off just because like I got sick, and then like I had like a really not bad, but it's just really like this annoying pain in my side. But I just bought a new mattress, and after like the second sleep, it's gone down a bit. But it was really annoying me. But when my mom was here, she was like, you just because I was like getting a little too back into fitness, and my mom said like, you may have like pulled something, or you may have just take it easy.
Right.
But I need to like get back into it, because when I'm working out and stuff, that's when my mind works the best. But if I'm not working out, and if I'm like sitting for too long, like I have to be doing something.
Right.
And it's weird because I never used to be like that. I'd be like, oh, whatever, let me see what's on TV. But now I'm like, hey, what can I clean?
Yeah,
What can I do?
I
What can I
know that feeling.
And yeah, because like as well, if you like with me, I don't know if you have like depression but if you're sitting down for too long, your mind likes to play tricks on you and likes to say things and do things, and you're like la 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 la. Like what they say, boredom is the root of all evil. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? I
think they call that your conscience.
Your conscience.
We haven't spoken in a way. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Like this?
Like I don't hear you. No, I don't hear you.
No.
Watching My Little Pony.
Yeah.
On demand.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to, and also like, yeah, it's just your mind with me is especially like it just likes to do that. So I love to be working out, and I mean, whoever says they love to work out, they're full of it, because who likes to work out? But I have to work out. Like it's like flossing my teeth. I have to do it. I have to brush my teeth.
Right.
I have to shower. I have to do it. It's become a part of my life, and as well as like, with my parents and their fitness background, even with my brother, like I look at them and I'm like, yeah, I have to, maintain this. I don't want to be, like the little marshmallow daughter, but I'm not where I want to be at yet. But like I've I just moved all the way here. I've been trying to get back into a routine, and it's just been it's been a slow start, but I just think it could be a lot worse. I could be. True. I was watching. It's not funny, but I was watching My 600-Pound Life, and I was like, and I just was like, how do these people get like this? I was like, oh my God. And you like hear their backstories, and it's like, oh my God. And it's like, man, like, I'm just glad, Right. You know what I mean?
No, I do. And I've caught a few of those episodes myself, and I was like, I mean, it kind of hits home a little bit. Not so much how they became, but more concern of health, and like, man, if I do this, is that going to happen to me? Or
exactly. And it really makes you think about things. That's exactly it. And I'm like, oh my God. And like I get, like I've been like 40 pounds 50 pounds overweight, but how do you get to that level? Like how do you, like when they're like they're bed bound, how do you get to that? That's insane. And I feel bad for like I feel, but at the same time it's like you have to like kind of, I hate that term, like give yourself a kick, but it's like you have to, nobody else is going to change that. And like in those shows as well, I was watching like the doctor was like, right, here's your diet, here's this, you're going to have a trainer, you're going to have a psychiatrist. And then the lady was still eating like pizzas every night. It's like, wow. Sorry, I'm getting like off topic, but I was watching that and I was like, this is like insane. But yeah, I got back into fitness. I'm almost to where I want to be. I've lost a lot of weight in the past couple of years. I changed my diet. I don't eat meat anymore. Okay. I have like fish and seafood, and like I'm a pescatarian. Okay. But I stopped eating like red meat and steaks and pork, chicken, all of that. I haven't eaten it in 2 years, and I think it's really, really done. It's benefited me. I feel a lot better for it, and like immediately I lost a lot of weight quite quickly with it. So yeah.
So with that said,
600-pound life to pescatarianism.
So in changing your diet, so now what would be your cheat meal? Oh. What calls to you, Georgia? I'm over here.
Man. Oh God.
I'm just a gallon weight now, so come on.
I love sushi.
Okay.
I love sushi, and like a lot of sushi actually is quite healthy. It's like the fresh fish and ginger and things like that. But it's like when you get it like with cream cheese and smothered in mayonnaise and spicy and it's like that's what calls out to me. That I love French fries. Like I love anything fried. sushi fried. I had the Cold Stone Creamery recently, the peanut butter, the Reese's peanut butter.
Right.
And like when they, mix the chocolate and the peanut. Oh my God.
What are you thinking about it?
Yeah, amazing. I love like Mediterranean food, like Greek food, like tzatziki and hummus, and like I could just eat that all day. Vietnamese. I had posted on my story yesterday. I had like a big Vietnamese. Yeah, I'm not doing too good with the diet. Actually, to be fair, I've been doing good. It was rice noodles, so it wasn't that bad. Yeah, I just love fried food. Oh, pasta. Pasta is my weakness.
Oh boy,
Pasta.
So you can't be taken to an Italian restaurant.
No, my God. Yeah, that's like my major weakness. That, cookies, peanut butter and chocolate, fried food, sushi. Those are my top ones.
Oh, and the biggest no-no for you is the pasta.
The pasta is the biggest one, but I've been trying to really cut back on that. I haven't had pasta in a little bit, but oh man, yeah, that with some shrimp and like a creamy sauce.
Right.
Done. Not good for me, but done.
Spend the next day and a half in the gym for that, just to burn all that off.
Yep.
So about at the age of 4 or 5 in 91, more or less? Okay. You and your family moved back to Tampa. Was that the first time?
Yeah, that was the first time. Yeah, I think it was 91 because it was because I think we had moved after my Uncle Dean had passed away. Yeah, and then we lived here. I think I was like 3, maybe going on 4, maybe 4. And no, I was probably 3. Yeah. And just thinking. Because I have a lot of memories from being 4, but 3 I don't really remember. Yeah, and we lived there till about July 96.
So was this when, according to my research, your mom placed you in modeling agency already?
She did.
And ballet this early in life?
When I was 4, yeah.
Wow.
I was doing like gymnastics with Harry. What else was I doing? Yeah, she placed me more in modeling when I was like 5, 6. Yeah, I remember that. I remember doing like a runway show. I remember taking like pictures, Harry and I taking like headshots and stuff like that. That was fun. I actually really enjoyed it. Actually really loved it. I loved like reading. And then we moved back to Calgary. She like took me to auditions and stuff like that. And I loved reading scripts. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. That's then like I wanted to be like the little like Disney kids on TV that you saw.
Right.
Like that's what I wanted to do when I was little. And my mom, we tried.
Right. Hey, that's the key phrase there. You tried. So is that something you're still open to doing now at this point in your life? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say I could see that. And obviously times have changed since then.
Yeah, obviously, a 31-year-old can't be hosting a Disney kids show, but
well, they could. I mean, who still does that? What's her name? Raven Simone, I believe.
Oh my God, I watched one of it was like Raven's House yesterday.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I forgot. Like that's another one that they've rebooted.
Right. Yes. More than once.
Yeah. And I was watching it, and the one Corey. No, not Corey. The one. Oh, what's his name? Orlando Brown. He's not on the show anymore.
Yeah.
He got in a bunch of trouble or something. That was bad mouthing her. She's a few years older than me. And then the show, she's got a kid in it. And I'm like, damn.
Right. Yeah. See, we watched her grow up in the Cosby Show, and she did a few. I believe she did a few Disney projects herself, and now she's doing her own thing. She tried singing. Not sure that worked out too well.
Cheetah Girls, she was in.
Cheetah Girls, yes.
Yeah.
And they all spread out. I think one of them has a talk show now.
Yeah, it's on the Reel or something.
Something like
Adrian
that, yeah.
Bailon.
And, well, Disney, I guess either one or the other call the other one back and say, it works out is my point I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And for those who are wondering, I have a lot of nieces and nephews that watch these things, and, after school, sit down with them, an early dinner, and just watch what they want to watch. I can't put, something above PG-13,
Yeah, it's crazy what kids are into now. That like Fortnite game and
oh my God, yes.
Minecraft.
Yes.
I was like, what is this floss? What is this?
Oh, and you got their heads buried in smart devices.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we used to talk.
Yeah. Back in my day, we just ate dinner.
Right.
And like we weren't on the phone constantly. Like I get like a kid having a phone for like emergencies, but like whenever I see like kids like in the car, I get in the car because it's boring and stuff. But just they're always on like the iPad swiping, and it's like, and then if you take it away, wah!
Yeah, I'm like, you're 15 years old.
Yeah, I know.
Go outside and something, but oh my goodness. And I got 6 nieces and nephews, so yes, a lot.
So you get it.
Yeah, I think I gave up 5 years ago. I don't know. So how often would you travel with your parents when your father was with the World Wrestling Federation?
I traveled not like all the time, but I traveled quite a bit. I think that's why like my ears pop a lot, like especially when I'm eating, because like when I was little, traveling, being on the airplane a lot. But I loved it. I loved like, that's another thing. Like with my childhood, I loved because I got to travel and like again, my mom, we'd go to like an airplane store. She'd get me a sticker book or a coloring book, and on the plane, I would just play with that, do that, and then we'd go check into the hotel or whatever, and then watch my dad. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
So would you join your father at the gym when he was on the road too?
Not so much when he was on the road, because by the time I was like getting into like working out, he was like away from the company. But I did work out with him a couple of times, and I did in 99 when he was coming back to the WWF at the time. He was going to the gym like every day, and of course, typical me, I'd be like, because it'd be like early mornings, I'd be like, can we just get a McDonald's breakfast? But like I just loved going with him to the gym, because I remember at that summer my brother and my not cousin, but TJ Tyson Kidd, they went to Toronto, and TJ had been living with us at the time, but they went to Toronto to like some wrestling camp type thing. And my mom, she was very depressed after Owen. So my mom was kind of like, she didn't really like to like go out much, or she just kind of kept to herself then. So my dad was like always like just out working out and doing things, and I'd be like, oh, can I come with you? Can I come with you? I'm a bored kid, and this PlayStation game's pretty boring now.
I beat it already.
Come on. My dad would like make me like breakfast, or he'd make me, or we'd go for breakfast, or and I remember sometimes like I'd eat the same like portions as him.
Wow.
Yeah. I was a hungry kid. No wonder why I had weight problems. So yeah, that was super. That was really fun. And then I remember in like 2000 going to Gold's Gym with him, and like he was just showing me like, this is like the cardio machine, how you use it, and we get like smoothies after. Like, why would I like going to school when I could go to the gym with my dad in the morning? Why would I want to do that outside when you know what I mean? Like
learning. No, I want to pick things up.
I want to, like
and put them down.
Like in the morning gym class, like why would I want to do that in junior high when I could get an actual expert in fitness and have fun? I don't know. That's how I looked at it then. But that's how I enjoyed it, and that's when I was getting more into fitness, and was through him.
Nice. So growing up, again, like I came across this and I was like, whoa, she did what? You would join your cousins when you were very young. I would imagine that this was back in Calgary.
Yep.
And you did impromptu shows in front of the family.
Yeah, we did. That's crazy how you know that.
Did you ever cosplay as your parents and pretend? Nothing like that?
No, it was like Jerry Springer type stuff. It'd be like hillbilly, like trash.
Oh,
and
my
like
goodness.
Natty would always be like the talk show host, and then it'd be like I was always like the man. Like I always dressed up as like the man, or like the big fat man, or like, and then like my cousin Lindsay would have like this little outfit on, and like the crimped hair and like horrible makeup, and it'd be like, and then she'd have like a pillow on her stomach, and then be like, is this your child type of thing. I remember one time my name was Dougie, and Dougie was really upset because his little stripper girlfriend, she had done him wrong.
Oops.
And Natty was she had a talk show host name. It was like Natalie Leanne Rhymes, because people used to tell her she looked like Leanne Rhymes. And we used to do that like on Sundays. Like my dad got me a camera, and I like begged him for one for my birthday. I don't know where it went, but I still have like some tapes and things that I'll show some people someday of the clips of us. But oh my god, it was hilarious. Or what else did we do? Talk shows, or like we do weddings. Like it'd be like a trailer trash wedding. Yeah, and it'd be like, we're gathered here today. Or it'd be like maybe a wedding. Yeah, what we do is like Dougie and the stripper, like they may have like fought, and then like the next episode they'd have like a little wedding. And Natty'd be like the and TJ was a part of it as well. And I remember my mom had like this horrible like little hair clip extension, and TJ put it on the back and like had a hat.
Oh my goodness. Hey, at least she was supportive.
Yeah, he had like a little like rat tail mullet. Yeah, so like we were always like, there was never a dull moment at that.
Right.
It was at the Hart House. It'd be at like the dinners, but we did that often. Yeah, so since a young age, you know, I was always
entertaining,
yeah.
Yeah, which brings me to my next question. Was that around the time you were thinking of getting involved in entertainment, or that came later? No, okay.
Well, I remember I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I told my mom, I was like, I want to be an actress. I want to. And my mom, she did say to me, she's like, well, it's hard work. It's hard. And I was like, what's what I want to do? And then don't know what she took with that, but I did tell her. I remember I did. But she knew that's what I wanted to do. And it was just hard because as well, and like just with my brother, like a big focus was on his wrestling, and like he had like the training with my family and stuff. But you know, a lot of, and it's like that was a lot like with my cousin Ted as well. Like a lot of the males, like, you know, they were trained to wrestle, and like that's where a lot of focus was on. Whereas like the girls were kind of like, just like with the, you know, the boys and my mom's family, like, you know, they were kind of, and then the daughters kind of all kind of like, you know, like, okay, well, you're gonna be a wife, and you know, whereas my mom was kind of like me. She was like, no, I wanna, you know, I'm Miss Calgary. I was a model. I'm, and she kind of did the more on TV stuff and things like that. But to be fair, like my Aunt Georgia and Ellie, like they weren't into that. My mom, like she wanted to do that. And, you know, Natty, she joined Mat Rats when she was, I think 19, but that was like, did you ever hear about Mat Rats?
Rings a bell.
Mat Rats was a kids wrestling show that a guy named Graham Owens was a part of, and Ted was like the main guy on it, and Harry was a part of it when he was like 15, but it was like kids wrestling show, and that's how Natty was learning to wrestle, because TJ was a part of it, and she did some hosting on it, and it was like, it had a lot of money put into it, and I don't really know what happened. It was like scheduled to be on like cable and TV, and like, it didn't happen, unfortunately, but I wasn't a part of that because I was like 13 and kind of young, but that was fun. But yeah, Natty, like she did that, and like that's how her thing for wrestling grew. Right. So, but yeah, just crazy. But yeah, I always was into it in some capacity.
So yeah, that was something else I was going to ask later on. So up to that point, maybe a couple of years later, you never thought of actually following your father's footsteps like your brother did to get into the ring?
No, to be fair, like I can't say like, well, I've gotten in a ring and I've tried it. The only thing that like I did again was when we were little. We had something called KWA, Kids Wrestling Alliance. It was a little wrestling group that my cousin Harry and my brother Harry and my cousin Matt started. And again, we videotaped it, and like we'd have some cousins be like Matt's and Harry's valets, or TJ's and Ted's valets, and I was a referee for a lot of it, and I was like 7, 8. I was one hell of a referee. So like I always say joke to my mom, I'm like, oh man, I would have made one hell of a referee. But I was looking at like something like the Mae Young Classic. I was like, what? They've got women referees now? I was like, man, I could be doing that. But I never was like doing, you know, hip tosses and running the ropes. Like I never did that. And I did, like, I was at, like, a lot of the wrestling practices, would just watch, and some of them, like, my Uncle Bruce, my God, like, some of the storylines, like, okay, and he had sex with your sister, and, you know, what are you going to do about it? And, like, like, some of them, like, and when you're, like, 15 watching that, and, like, these big grown men sweating and slamming each other in the dungeon, and, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, this is not for me. That's okay. I'm all right. And I just never like was like, wow, this is something I want to do. Like, it was just very much not a manly sport. It was just kind of like, it just wasn't for me. And my dad was just always he kind of emphasized like, I don't want you getting involved. Like, I don't. He's like, and he always said like, I want you to have a better life than what I did with them. And And you know, he was just he was protecting me, right. You know, and like Harry being the Harry, you know, that's what Harry was meant for, and that's not what I was meant for. Right. And he knew that, and he knew, like, and as well, like, my dad and I, we never really bonded over wrestling or watched a match and was like, you know, what'd you think of that? Like, we never, like, we would watch movies and Simpsons episodes, or we'd go out to films, or yeah, like that's what we bonded over. And but now, like, growing up and stuff, like, I've got more of an appreciation, and like, I'll watch a match and be like, wow, that was a good match. Or I'll watch, my brother showed me some horrible, it was like on some Botchamania site, I was like, that's terrible. Like, I know what's good and what's bad because of you know, my family and stuff. But my dad was, he always said, like, I don't want you doing that. And my mom's all for it. She'd be like, right, where do we begin? Okay. And also, like, now I'm kind of like, if I were to decide, like, well, you know, life's not going good for me, so I'm going to get into wrestling now, it would just make me look bad, and it would just make me look like, you know what I mean? Like, right. it just, I wouldn't get much credit. And also, as well, it's not something that I'd put my heart and soul into, and also, my memory's not very good, so I wouldn't be able to memorize. Like, I give them credit, because it's not easy. Right. Remembering all those, like, moves and things. I'm like, oh my god, like, I'll watch like a 15-minute match, and I'm like, how do they remember all these spots? Because I wouldn't. Right. And also, like, I would just, like, under the spotlights, I'd be like, oh my god. But I guess, like, as well, you get used to it and things like that, and you just, you know, but
well, in modern time, you get caught calling out the spots, and the camera picks up on it. It's like, did he just say? And then we see it a moment, a second later. Yeah, we heard that before you.
yeah. And as well, it's like, it's changed so much. Like, now women it's completely different. You know, it's evolution. So, like, that's really cool. Like, I wish it was like that when, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Maybe it would have changed for me. Maybe I would have felt like I would have had more of a place in it. Right. But, you know, things happen the way they're meant to, I guess. But, I mean, I wouldn't, like, disconnect myself completely from wrestling, but as for, you know, lacing up the boots and getting a singlet made, like, it's not going to be happening. Sorry, people.
So you just stuck with that singlet idea as your attire to watch.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I like to eat, and people seeing my cellulite through my tights, it's like, that's okay. That's all right.
Use a nice big coat right about now.
Yeah.
That's my gimmick. Just wear the coat. Everything else is a mystery.
Yeah, exactly.
So before getting into where you are today, was there something else you had in mind? Maybe becoming a doctor, lawyer, bodyguard, or something like that?
No. If, like, I didn't want to do entertaining and stuff like that, and I wouldn't want to do this, like, full time, but, like, I think, like, I'd be a good police person. Okay. Like, when I see, like, people, or like a detective. Like, because anything I want to find out, I find out. And, like, it's like a little gift. I'm like, wow, I found that out.
I need to know the answer.
Yeah, if I need to know something, I find it out. Like, it's crazy. My mom will be like, how did you find that out? I'm like, but, like, when I see these stupid people speeding, or, like, I'm like, oh, man, I just wish I was a cop, so I could be like, phew. And also, like, you know, I'm Libra, so I'm the judge and jury of the zodiac, and so, like, I really don't like unfair things, and I always like to make sure things are handled diplomatically and fairness, but, you know, that's not the world that we live in. But
you might have hated me growing up then.
I wouldn't, I think it'd be cool to be, like, a lawyer, but no, I always see those stupid, like, Morgan & Morgan for the people, and I'm like, oh, man. No thanks. No, I think I would have made a good detective.
Well, there's one less sponsor you'll be getting.
Morgan & Morgan for the people.
Right, not for me.
Winters and Yonker. No, good for Morgan & Morgan. Like, they're everywhere. Right. The guy, he's everywhere. If he's not on my radio, he's on my TVs. If he's not on my TV, he's on the billboards. If he's not on the billboards, he's in the doctor's office. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's everywhere. Yeah, so that's what I would like to have done, is maybe have been a detective.
So you eventually discovered the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, where we are. So at that time, what were the plans? Any specific field you wanted to study in? And what were your favorite classes? Maybe your favorite teacher? What did you find most difficult? All that jazz.
Well, my mom was the one that told me about the school. She heard it on the radio, and I was like, huh? Say what? And then she took me to like the audition process, and it was run by different people at the time. And I did an audition that wasn't very good. I don't know, like my low blood sugar that day or something. And I just was like, I'm not into this. I did it, and I was like, that wasn't very good. And then they called me, and they were like, oh, well, you know, we think it was good, and if you want to come back and talk to us. And I don't know. I didn't really know what to think. I was like, is this some kind of like scheme or, you know, really? And then we came and we met, and they gave us like the tour of everything, and told us about like the people that had graduated. And I don't know. It was just I didn't really have a lot of money at the time. And again, my mom got like a little bit of inheritance money, and she helped me out with it. Again, like, thank you, mommy. Thanks. My mom, she's always like anything I've wanted to do, she's always backed me up, even if it's the stupidest idea. Stupidest isn't a word. But she's always helped me out. But yeah, she was like, all right, well, if this is something you want to do, we'll do it. And I did it. And I wasn't here for the first day of it. When I was first here, I was like, what is this about? Like, and I was really, really overwhelmed. I don't know if you know, like, everything just happens so fast. It's like, yes, and then this assignment's due, and then this assignment's due, and then you got to do this, and this, and it's like, I was working in retail, and I was like, I just stopped that to do this, and I was like, whoa, what have I gotten myself into? And I was, like, stressing a lot. But I really enjoyed it, and then I did like some on-camera things, and I did for my final project an interview that I did with my uncle Jim, which was really good. But when the first clips of it, they weren't very good. But then once I edited it, I really enjoyed editing. Yeah. I liked putting. That's one thing I enjoyed with the school is editing. Not so good with the board. I've never been. I've never like not very good with it. Editing and presenting were probably my top two.
Well, editing is fun, and you're probably not aware of this. I recently put together kind of like a documentary of sorts. You're up to Mineola.
Oh, yeah.
For the Wasama's
yeah, that's
Pro
what
Wrestling.
Bolly was telling me.
Yeah. Haven't heard back yet of what they thought of it. It's been a while, but all right, they'll get to me whenever.
She told me that you... because again, like I don't agree to like interviews, and because she was coming down today, and I said I'm busy at this time, and then she said, "Oh, you're meeting Jim," and I was like, "How does she know?" And then she was like, "Yeah," she was like, "He'll be good. He'll take care of you, and he asks good questions, and he's very informative and knows what he's talking about." I was like, "Okay." Another reason why I agreed was because you went to the school as well, so, but yeah, she said it was really good.
Oh, okay. And I did that, and you talked about the editing. My goodness, through the Adobe Premiere, and it's still up there. I can just show you in all these pieces they'll put together: the audio, the picture, the videos, all this stuff, all the texting. It's like this giant road, a brick road made of rainbows. There's so many color features and all that. It's about an hour long, and yes, I spent maybe about 4 months doing that.
Wow.
And just, I'm like, okay, I want this here, I want this there, and in a specific order.
Yeah, and if something is a little off, then people be like, no, that's fine. You're like, no, I need it.
Yeah.
That
was me.
Specific
the last couple of days. I'm like, no, there's a little like niche there. There was like a glitch somehow. I don't know how that ended up there, but it's in a final project. But yeah, I also learned to appreciate that as well, all the hard work and countless hours just sitting there. By the time you stand up, you're like, you feel
my God, I know.
Yeah, you feel like you're 80 years old. And
I don't know. I gained a lot of weight at the school because I was just sitting and eating because I was just like so into what I was doing.
Right.
And I'd be here from morning to night, just editing. It's not a. And then if you play it again, and then you're like, oh, I gotta go back.
Right.
Play it again. Okay. And it's just a constant. But I made it how I wanted it.
Right.
So. Yeah, I was quite pleased with my projects.
And speaking of which, you recently uploaded a voiceover demo on your YouTube channel.
Thank you. Yes,
it sounded really good, and more interesting that it was just the screen was just black. And you just heard your voice. It was almost being at a movie theater.
Oh,
looking around, who's saying that?
It's funny because like I was trying to figure out how to get my clip on YouTube, and then
Yeah.
I looked on YouTube to show me how to do it, the transferring process, and then it was just was a black screen. That was the
Right.
only. I think it was like that, or like maybe some flowers, and I was like, I'll just have it black. But yeah, I'm just glad like it's out there, because like people ask me like, where can I hear it? I never knew like how to get it on, people to actually hear it. So yeah, thank you. It was again, it was one thing that took a long time to perfect and critique, and I worked with Mark Silk, who was the voiceover artist. He helped me with it, with like the sound effects and clips in it, and so yeah, I was really quite proud of it when I did that. And I tried doing one here at the school, but it wasn't very good. So yeah, thanks, Mark, for your professional help.
And were you supposed to have some kind of working project with Mark Silk at some point?
Well, I've done some like little bits with him, or he'll be like, "Hey, I need like an American voice for this. Can you help me?" And like I would do it. Whether he used it or not, I don't know. But like I helped him, or he'd be like, "This client needs this voice. They're auditioning." And then there was like one TV show, and they liked it. They narrowed it down to 2 voices. It was me and somebody else. It was a British person doing an American accent, Canadian, North American. And they were like, "Oh, we really like her," but and then they said like they just chose the British person for whatever reason. But those were the top 2 that they. So I'm like, I would tell you what cartoon it was, but I've had to sign an NDA, so I can't discuss it. But I was, there's lots of things that like people don't know. I wish I could like say, "Oh, I've done this," but I can't talk about it.
No, it's cool. At least there's that experience.
Yeah, exactly. There's that experience. And in England, I met a guy named Tim Allen, and his sister is on the UK's NXT. It's just a small world, but Tim Allen, not Tim Allen from Home Improvement. He's a little British guy, but he does all the stop motion animating.
Oh, okay.
And he did it for like some Tim Burton movies. But I got to go on set with him, and he got to show me like all the work he was doing, and that was super cool. And Jim Parkin, it's funny because like they're all like linked through wrestling.
Yeah, somehow
these people.
It's funny. I came across that too. Like, what? You too?
What? Yeah. And Jim Parkin, he went to school with like somebody who was a wrestling fan, and like the guy would just watch. And Jim's like probably like close to my mom's age, so he knows like my dad, and appreciates that. And we just somehow through Tim connected. And I went to the Aardman Studios, and he showed, like, I got to hold the actual Shaun the Sheep from the Wallace and Gromit, and like he showed me like all of everything, and like they were filming like a little Christmas stop motion thing. I don't know if it was for Disney or what BBC, but it was just so cool. Like that I'll take with me like for the rest of my life. It was just like such an experience.
Yeah, definitely. So from there, maybe thinking doing voiceovers for maybe movie trailers, something like that. It's almost rare, maybe unheard of, to have a female voice do something for movie trailers.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the 80s was the very first and last time I heard any. But usually when there is one nowadays, it's one of the characters already in the movie, which is okay.
It's true.
It's cool, but at the same time, it's not really the narrator. She's one of the characters in the movie you're about to watch or going to watch, and I feel, well, don't you think it's about time? Switch it up a little bit. I mean, there's always that argument what women can and cannot do as far as Hollywood or in acting goes. But yeah, I think a female voiceover for movie trailers would be successful.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, is voiceover like my number one? It is to a point, but I think just me and like doing just entertaining, like or being me.
Right.
Like that's my ultimate goal in some capacity, whether it's voiceover, whether it's on screen, like that's what I'd like to do.
Because sometimes, well, especially in horror movies, which is always, I think, a go-to, but you will have like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
She wasn't in part 3 for Halloween, which complete sidetrack of it. But her voice is still heard in somewhere in one of the loudspeakers. And I think she did that with another movie later on. So I don't think she was credited, unfortunately.
Oh.
And it's like, well, we do recognize, fans, we recognize, isn't that
It's
Jamie
like, I
Lee?
know that voice.
Right. And it's like, well, give us some credit. Or either that was probably done as a favor. I don't know the entire story.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's a bit different. But different is always good, can be. And there should be more of it. You know, so maybe one day,
Maybe.
I don't have your voice, obviously, so I'm not going to sound like you, but, in a world where, terrorist fish from outer space come over and take over the world, who are you going to call? Who can save us?
I definitely, and my brother as well, and my cousin Lindsay, like, we have like a gift of being able to, like, if we hear a certain person, we can just imitate them.
Right.
And, like, we get, like, their mannerisms. But us three, my mom's pretty good at it as well. But me, Harry, and Lindsay, we're like, Harry, oh my God, his impressions, like, they just kill me laughing. He does a Mike Rotunda.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Arn Anderson, Johnny Ace.
Maybe a Lloyd Christmas, like I saw on your
Oh God, no. I don't know if he could do. I think he could do like kind of an imitation, but it's just like he just picks up on it. Like it's like we're like chameleons. It's like, and then we turn into it. And people are like, I'll imitate somebody, and they're like, whoa, that's exactly like them. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, that's just like, don't know.
But that could help too, especially when you do auditions.
Yep.
For example, have you gone up for any roles in a major studio at any point?
Besides the voiceover stuff, with like movies and things like that, no. I did like some like when I was younger with like kids stuff. I don't know what if they were like films. I can't even remember. It was just here's a script, go in the room. No, but I'm really not good with auditions either.
Okay. Oh, that's too bad.
No, I'm really not. I'm really not. I'm such an anxious person in general.
So, if that didn't work out, but you managed to be an intern for Fox Radio.
I was.
And eventually NBC Channel 8. So, how did that come together, and how was that experience?
Could I have a coffee first?
Sure, that could help. Yeah. We can take a little break.
Because I have to go to the bathroom.
No problem. So we're back after a quick little break. So I was asking before that your experience with interning for Fox Radio and eventually at NBC Channel 8. How was that, and how did it come together?
I was at where did I start? I was interned at 970 WFLA. I was interning there. And I didn't really enjoy it. It was like I was just getting them like food pretty much and I was doing it for free from like 5 a.m. to 9, and then I had to work at 10 till 5:30 at my actual job at paid, and I didn't really, and it was just like I did it for like a month, or no, I did it a little longer than that. I did it for like a couple months, and it just I don't know, it was I didn't like it. And then from Shayna contacted me, but I just took it. I took it for like the experience, and I took it, so hey, I did it. But Shayna contacted me and said, hey, Channel 8, they're looking for some interns. They're looking, and I guess this was the first time they were taking on interns, I believe. And she was like, I thought of you, and they wanted like the best. And I was like, oh, thanks, Shayna, for thinking of me. So I went and I did that. I actually enjoyed it. I got to, I made some friends, and I did a lot of editing, which I liked. And I did, I think I did something on like the water and some pond. There was like something that happened at a pond with like somebody drowned. And I did my project on that. Right. And despite the sadness and the tragedy, I enjoyed the process of it. And but news for me, I completed it, and they were pleased with what I did, and I never no showed, or like I did everything as expected. But I don't really when I go home, I don't really watch the news, sadly. Like I'm a typical millennial. I get my news online. Right. But I don't. Whenever I watch the news, I'm like, damn, how much work has she had done? Like the main girl, it's like her face is frozen, or they've got like the old man. And I'm like, wow, who looks like the guy who hosted The Price is Right. And I'm just like, I don't know, I'm focusing more on that than the actual story. It's bad. And, but it's important. Like young people and stuff, we need to be informed on the news and things like that. I just personally, it's just not something like my aunt, who's 60 years old, she just watches the news. My uncles and stuff, like CNN is on all the time, MSNBC, Fox, and I'm like, Oh man, this is painful. And I get it, but just I can't do it all day.
Right.
And you know, if I'm saying that, I shouldn't have a job in it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So.
Hey, at least you're being honest.
Yeah.
And if it's not particularly your cup of
tea,
coffee, yeah, then no, then I guess it wasn't meant to be. And people try though.
Yeah, and I respect it because it's hard work. Like I worked with like the reporters and things like that, and I remember we went to like this one scene, like this one area, and like somebody was gonna like try to kill himself or something, and there was just cop cars everywhere. I was like, oh my god. I was like, I just got like really anxious there. But imagine having to cover that at like 4 a.m. Right. And I remember when I was doing it as well, it was when that sinkhole incident had occurred. Do you remember that years ago when the guy
who was in bed already? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was.
And
wow.
like we were outside, I think like his house, and it was I don't know.
Well, yeah, I do remember that story. That was heartbreaking to hear.
So sad.
And man, so with that said. And I did listen to other interviews you conducted, especially from the UK. And you shared a few stories, and you touched briefly on it earlier. And you described it as kind of like separating your identity from your father. Do you remember that? And is that something you still struggle with today when they ask, tell us something about yourself? And then kind of like what Brandon Lee went through as well through his auditions. I'm like, oh, this is Bruce Lee's kid, maybe give or consider giving him different treatment or something like that, and that always bothered him. And Brandon will share that too many times on his interviews. So is that something you see yourself?
No, it never bothers me at all. But one thing it did bother me in school was like there'd be some kids and stuff that like wouldn't want to give me the time of day, and like sometimes I didn't have any friends, and then like my dad would show up in like the nice car, and it'd be like, "That's your dad? Your dad's." What? And then it'd be like they'd want to be my best friend and ask me, was he really burned in a fire? Are they really brothers? Blah, blah, blah. Is Shawn Michael, what's it? And it was like, oh my God. So like, I kind of like, that's how I judge people as well. Like, if people want to get to know the real me, then I kind of like, I don't really say much. I don't bring up my dad. But then after it's like, okay, once they've gotten to know me, then I'll be like, oh, my dad was this person. It'll be like, oh, and then if they had liked me before then it's just a little bonus or whatever. But I don't tell people right off the bat that's my dad. But it's had a lot of benefits to it, but it's also like I don't know, like it's also. Like I've had such a crazy life, and then having to like do like a normal, doing like, in retail and stuff. And then I don't know, anybody that works in retail, they know like, but getting like spoken to a certain way from whether it be a manager or like this annoying housewife or something, it really like, it really hurts your soul. And like, it's really like, sometimes it can be, it's not like, you're not like a prostitute or something, but it can be kind of like degrading a bit. And you're like, holy how did I get to this? Like, oh my God. And it's like, and then you see that, like, I know I was, at Wembley Stadium, with my dad and watching that, and, seeing all these amazing things. And then it's like, okay, it's like that movie, The Wrestler, a bit. Right. You know what I mean? Like when he's like had this crazy life, and then it's like a little less. A little more when she's wanting and then it's like, oh my God. But obviously that was my dad was his own thing, and then I'm me. So but it's been hard. Even in Goodfellas, like when he's had like that gangster life, and then he's like, now I get microwaved or whatever at the end of the movie. Spoiler. And he's like, and I had to have ravioli and I can't remember what he said, but it's like, yeah. But no, like I've never tried to feel like I need to separate myself, because. And as well as I think it's so important for me to keep my dad's legacy alive. Right. And, and to keep, not pushing for him, but to keep the young fans, like, people know my dad. And if it's, me, the person that does it, and my brother, I'll do it. But, as for me wrestling and stuff like that and being pretty much him, it's not going to happen. Like, I'm Georgia, he's Davey. If you're looking for... Literally, you've got Davey Boy Smith Jr. You got my brother. If you're looking for somebody to to carry on the wrestling,
Right.
you got him, you know?
Speaking of which, your brother, Harry Smith, now goes by Davey Boy Smith Jr.,
Yeah.
is having a great success in Japan and following his father's footsteps. Many ask, so I'll ask for your opinion.
Yeah.
Why is it when wrestlers start their careers with WWE in this case, after a while things don't go so well, they don't work out, and then they leave to a different company and they just have this tremendous successful career with them?
Yeah. I think there's lots of reasons for it. I think when Harry first got hired with the company, he wanted to do like some more independent stuff, and they're like, no, we need to have you now. We need to have you now. And Harry was like, okay. But I wish my dad was here because he could have maybe given Harry some guidance. And Chris Benoit was kind of, I don't know. I would say he tried like to be like a father figure to Harry, sort of, but Chris was quite unreliable. Like when when Harry needed him. So it's like, you know, Harry just went with what he thought was right, and like he went to that Hall of Fame with Brett when Brett got inducted with Natty and TJ and Ted, and Vince saw them and was like, right, you guys, I want you guys to be, you're gonna get hired. And unfortunately, with my cousin Ted, it didn't work out from the get go. And to be honest, I don't think it would have worked out. And then with Harry, you know, but Harry as well, like when I see it's like WWE superstars, I think like they're the type of people, like for the most part, it's like they look like they might be able to like sell you a car. Like if Dolph Ziggler was like trying to sell you a car, I'd probably buy it. I'd be like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He can talk the talk. If, you know, my cousin Natty was trying to sell me a car and tell me, I'd be like, wow. But my brother Harry, I'd be like, right, you're not really okay. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I think with WWE, they want like that's you know, that can talk the talk right at the you know, right away. And it's like, I'm not like that. Harry's not like that. My dad wasn't like that. Brett's not really like that. But with WWE now, they want that type, and you know, and unfortunately, you know, now Harry's more, he's grown in the charisma, confidence a lot, and I think that was that's helped being taken away from WWE, like since being away from them, and he's really grown and has really, the time has gone by. But with WWE, you know, he didn't really say much, right? And I think they noticed that, and they were like, okay. And TJ didn't really say much either, but I don't know. It was just you also, you have to not play the game, but you just have to be like, you just have to keep their attention. You just have to be like, hey, I'm still on the radar. Hey, and just make like. And I'm not saying Harry didn't make any efforts or things like that, but you have to be that car salesman and get in their face and be like, hey, let's make that deal today. Well, what are we gonna do? And Harry's not like that. And but you know, I think that's a big reason why it didn't work. Right.
And speaking of today, at least in WWE, a lot of fans complain online. They post their comments, their blogs about, you know, how come they're not doing something with so and so, and after a while, you don't see them on TV much. Yeah. And usually we come across a report and it ends with, well, we don't have anything creatively for you right now. I'm sure you've heard that before many times.
That's what they said to Harry. We don't have anything creative for you right now. But with Harry, it was like they gave the Hart Dynasty a big push because Brett was coming back and they were inducting my Grandpa Stu. But it was like right after that happened, it was like, well, we've got nothing for you.
Wow, nothing long term.
Like, really?
So, and with that said, and like you said, usually that means, and put it in different perspective, it usually means, or the end is near for that individual, unfortunately. And you and I studied media to an extent, to write stories, to put something together on television or on audio. And do you really think it's that difficult to come up with something to be that talented or multitask, if you're on the creative side of things, to keep track of all these WWE talent superstars, the wrestlers, and have roles for them, for everyone? Do you think it's that difficult to come up with something?
I mean, I don't know, like, because I'm not, but I think you just have to just keep pitching ideas to them, whether you think it's stupid or not. You just have to be in their face. Like, you just have to, that's what I think you have to do. And then from there, they might think, well, and then go from there. And if it's not working, you do what Zack Ryder does, and he started his YouTube channel, and then he gained a lot of, because like he wasn't doing good for a while,
right?
It's a very, as somebody told me, it's a very fickle company, and like you just have to, and it's not fair. Like it's not fair. Like I don't agree with Harry getting released. I don't agree with that. Like with all the history of my family and with Owen, and like Harry's not like some slob or like horrible. Like Harry's like a 3rd generation pedigree who's good. Harry's amazing at what he does. He's a pure professional, but it's not in the WWE box. He's not which I don't agree with, and that's another reason why I kind of was, separated myself a lot from wrestling, was because I didn't think it was fair. I didn't agree with that.
Right.
And, but, lots of time has changed, and, I think that door is open. It's just if Harry wants to go back, but I don't know. I can't say. I don't know if he'll ever go back, because people are like, oh, please tell me he's going to, I'm like, man, I don't, like he's just loving like his schedule, doing things on his terms when he wants to do it. And with WWE, I think as well, he pitched a lot of ideas, and they were like, no, it's just no. And I think it was like, okay, and I don't understand that, but
okay. So, what does the future hold for Georgia Smith? I mean,
you're
still very young. Give yourself.
Oh, thanks.
So, more or less, in about 10 years from now, what do you see yourself?
I don't know. But I want to continue showcasing, whether that's me via voiceover or presenting. I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to do some episodes. I want to do some things with like my family.
Which is looking great on your Instagram account.
Thanks.
I seem like, look at them, they're always having fun, always having a good time.
Yeah.
Either at home, on the road, in the restaurant.
That's what I'm about. Like I just want to have like, whether it's at a restaurant or like a family trip, it's just showcase that, because like, not to be biased, but like my family's hilarious. So they are hilarious. We're all. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm kind of funny, but my Harry is like hilarious. My mom, like. Oh God, my dad, if he was here, my God. But like, yeah, that's what I want to do, is like just show like little mini things, little clips.
Right.
Because it was funny, because I did an Instagram live story or live thingy, and people were like, "We want to see like reality show," and I'm like, that would be really good, but you never know.
So would that be an idea, maybe?
Yeah, I would love to do that.
To get off the ground.
That's the thing, is I want to be myself.
Right.
And that's not easy. That's not like, you can't get money doing that. But
right.
I'm not saying I want to make money doing it, but I want people to see that and just be myself.
Any plans on writing a book?
Yeah, I'd like to write a book
one day. Your life growing up, family in the business, all that jazz.
Yep. So you see, I just need to get that brass ring. I just need to get to where I want to be, and then I've got lots of ideas for a book.
So, speaking.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, it's okay. That's keeping an eye on my stuff too. Well, speaking of your father, he started training at the age of 12.
Yes.
Is that about right?
Yes.
That's wow. I mean, back in the days, in comparison to, let's say, my generation, no, we'll wait till like we're early teens, or maybe midway to your teens, and then start training, because you got school going on, or maybe you got a family business to run. But you started at 12. You turned pro around 15 years old. Yep. And then later on, eventually teamed up with the Dynamite Kid. Yep. And debuted in the World Wrestling Federation in 1985. What's your relationship now with Dynamite Kid, if any?
I haven't seen or spoken to Dynamite in about 5-6 years. I did see him for the first time, since, when the early 90s. I saw him in 2011, and he was good. I just came, and he invited me in, and he made me some tea, and we just kind of chatted for a bit, and I just only stayed for like an hour. But yeah, he was very nice. He was fine. Just said like he was sorry to hear about my dad, and I gave him. There's a picture of him Harry gave it to me to give to him, and it was a picture of him, and he was holding like this big trophy in Japan, and it was just dynamite. My dad, I think, was maybe in the picture, but it was just dynamite. And then when I went to his house a couple years later, he had it blown up above his fireplace.
Nice.
And I knew he liked his vodka, and Mickey Rourke had given my mom some like special, like expensive Russian vodka, and so I brought it, and I was like, here you go, because I know he likes his drinks. But he was really nice. I can't say he was this, he was that. He was good. And then I saw him a couple years later, and he was a little more quiet, a little more, I don't know, just kind of like just grunted a lot, and he just kind of declining.
Right.
And then I didn't see him again. And then my brother and his daughter came and saw him like a year later, and she said he wasn't doing good. And then now he's like in an actual hospital, and he's really not good. Harry was just telling me he's like, I don't know, like it's just only a matter of time now. I don't know how he's surviving.
Right.
But it's really sad. But yeah, he can't really do anything. But that was the last time I saw him.
Okay. At this point in time, it's been 16 years since your father passed away. Through social media, and people make comments, usually ridiculous or worse. Do you find yourself sometimes defending your father because of, for example, some of my questions I came up with was through Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. I don't know if you ever heard the episode that he covered it. He covered your father as a subject, and I was like, wow, because he went into depth, and that's just one side of the story, And I was like, well, I think family or a relative in this case would know what the other half was. So with that said, and this is nothing to place blame or pointing your fingers like that, because of communications and social media and podcasting and shooting interviews. Was there ever, today, do you still find your time defending your father? And like, that's not what happened. No, that's not true kind of thing.
Yeah, like with like stupid smart marks, like I don't really, I could care less, because it's like they're in their parents' basement using their tears as lubricant. So it's like I'm not really bothered by what they say, so I'm like, okay, you're just sad. Like, this is your life. Like, okay. But when it comes to like people that my dad, his colleagues, for instance, and when they say something, that's when I have to, like, the little pit bull in me is like, no, wait a minute. Like, okay, that's when I have to, like, find their number from somewhere, give them a call, rather than handle it on social media, because that's just tacky.
It is.
And it's childish. And I've been guilty of it before, like in the heat of the moment. But, for the most part, I try to just, I'll get your number. We're going to call, talk about it. Tell me why you said this. Okay. Right. And then we squash it, and then it's done. And then it's like, we're not going to mention this again. Okay. Cool. But that's when it annoys me. It's when I have to do that. But it's like, that's my dad. And it's like, and some people might be like, well, you were too young, you didn't know, you didn't blah 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 blah. It's like, well, you don't know jack shit. Like, you don't know, like, you don't know. I'm going on, and let's just say my dad did something really bad, or really, it's like, why would you say something about it this many years later when he's not here to defend himself, and he's not? It's like, it just makes you look bad, and it's just, I just think it's really pathetic, and that's when I have to step in, and sometimes I say things, and but it's coming from my heart, so
right, because above all, he was your father.
Yeah,
and
that's my dad.
You're right.
That's my dad. That's somebody like that was extremely close to, and that I loved, and I'm not gonna. And my dad wasn't some pathetic piece of shit, so it's like I'm gonna always stand up for him. Right.
Speaking of which, you had a bit of a Twitter feud with Scott Hall earlier in the year.
Oh God, I'd hardly call that a feud, but I just again I didn't have his number, so and he made a stupid comment, so it's like, I'm gonna say this, and then he didn't say anything back, and then he deleted it, and I was like, well, there you go.
So
there you go.
So that's the end of that.
That's the end of that.
Okay.
But Harry did see him, and he was like, "Oh, well, no, it was a joke. Like me and kid, so like him and Sean Waltman, like we used to joke saying that like Lex was like the better of the two, and it was a joke." And then Harry's like, "Well, don't let it happen again." And he was like, "Okay." He's like, "But I love Davey," and it's like, why would you say that? Like, but I think he, you know, just maybe had a few or something and was bored. And he was like, "No, it was my the person that handles my Twitter." It's like, let's not play this little game here.
Right.
And but I was shocked because like I loved like Scott Hall when I was little.
Right.
Like when he had like the little grease or whatever in his hair, I used to like tickle his hair when I was little, and I loved him, like him and 123 Kid, and so I was like, where the hell is this coming from?
Right.
But you know, some people, they just have demons they can't let go, and you know, but best of luck to him. You know,
right.
It's been squashed now, and you know, I think he did feel bad. I think it was just, you know, a case of he was just being an idiot,
trying to be funny, but it wasn't.
Trying to be funny, and it wasn't.
Right. And speaking of hair, did you ever help your dad with his cornrows?
No, I didn't. But when I was little, because I used to like sneak in the bed with my mom and dad when I was little, and I would just like play with the beads and like watch them like bounce, and I'd be like me, and like I'd like pull them like all the way up to like his
roots,
hair, his roots, yeah, his scalp, and they'd be like wee, boom, and then like tie them and things like that. I would do that. But as for helping, he had like this lady, it was like this like Jamaican lady that did it. She had like this little daughter that was like my age, so her and I used to play, and I used to like play with her hair, and she'd play with mine. And I remember the lady would like always like burn the ends of my dad's hair to get that, you know, to make sure it was on there tightly. And I'd be like, "Don't burn him."
Did your father ever sit you down one day and talk to you or explain the ins and outs of the business?
Mm-mm. I just remember I was like 9, and I asked him, I'm like, "Is wrestling fake?" Because kids at school were giving me a hard time, and he's like, "No." But him and my mom, like, they emphasize to make it's real, it's real, it's real. So like that's when kids be like, "Your dad's a fake, your dad's this, that," like that. I really took it to heart because I'm like, my dad's, you know, got this knee brace, and you know, he's got this broken back, and he's got like all these injuries and problems, and he's gone. Like I never like saw my dad, so it was like saying what he does is fake. It was like a big slap in the face. And but they always like told me it's real, and then you know, obviously as you get older and you see like the scripts and things like that, like I remember my dad had like a little script or something, and then it's like, oh, and then you kind of put it together. But I remember when I was like 11, there was like the Stampede Wrestling storyline when Stampede Wrestling revived in 99. And like there was a guy named Principal Pound, and he was like beating my mom up in the ring, and he had like a crowbar and stuff.
Wow.
And my mom had just a rib surgery. And I was like, oh my God, he's hurting my mom. And I ran in the ring. And it's like, this is all like on tape. They played it because when I went to school on Monday, kids were like, "You were in the ring and blah, blah, blah. What was going on?" But like I thought, because like my mom, she was a pretty good little seller. Right. And like, I was so upset because like the thought of like somebody hurting my mom, I was like, no.
Right.
But then, and I felt bad because like the guy that played Principal Pound, he felt so bad about it. And like I remember I saw him like, but my mom like didn't let on at all, like it was fake or anything like that.
She kept selling.
She kept selling it. And then even like the next day at the wrestling practice at my grandpa's house, Principal Pound was there, and he looked like he was crying and stuff like that. And I was like, "You hurt my mom," but my mom didn't let on. Like, hey,
right.
So you know, I was under this little
keeping a kayfabe.
Yeah, she did, but. You know, I kind of got it later on, like when Harry was getting into it and things like that, and like them going over spots and, but yeah, she, but like as my dad telling me the ins and outs, no, but he would tell me like, well, there'd be certain people like he didn't like and stuff like that. He would tell me, but that's between him and I. But,
right. What would be your favorite feud or favorite angle that your father was involved with?
The one with him and Brett was really good. Again, it was like, back then I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Their family and they're going at it.
Yeah. What else is there? Sean and him, like, they just, like, upset me because, like, Sean was always winning, and I was like, oh, you dickhead. I liked his and Ken Shamrock's when he made Ken Shamrock eat the can of dog food.
Yes.
That was good. He had some good matches with The Rock.
Yes, he did.
There was one I watched recently that was really good. There was like a match with him and Triple H that was actually pretty good. Then like The Rock was like the referee for it. But probably the one with him and Brett was probably the best, I'd say. Took it to the heart.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
At one point, your father left the company back in '88 and worked for Japan and returned in 1990. Did you ever travel with him to Japan at that time?
No, I would love to go to Japan, but no, I never got the chance to go with him or anything like that. He brought back some like really cool things like geishas and little geisha dolls, and that were like really expensive. Whenever I was playing with them, I'd get yelled at because they were like all porcelain, and swords he'd bring back, like samurai swords, lots of things. But yeah, I was like really, really young, so I didn't really. I appreciated it when he went back in like the 91 and on era of WWF, when it was like him, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior. Like those are my earliest childhood memories, which I would say is pretty good.
Oh yeah, I remember those times. Great times until change happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of like 91, just to go through a few highlights from your father. WrestleMania 7, he defeated the Warlord. Survivor Series that year, everyone was eliminated except Ric Flair in the opening match, where Davey Boy teamed up with Bret Hart, Roddy Piper, and Virgil.
Oh yeah.
And in 92, he drew number 1 in the Royal Rumble to crown a new world's champion at the time. And that particular Rumble, the majority of people I've spoken to, that's their favorite one because it was just a who's who at the time, and basically fighting for one championship. And as we all know, Ric Flair ended up winning. Later on that year, his match with the Berserker, WrestleMania 8, didn't make air because they were running out of time of the pay-per-view. It was still on the VHS box, but there was a disclaimer at the end of the whole event. It would say, due to time restraints or something like that, the Bulldog Berserker match never happened, but it was still advertised on the VHS, which I found interesting and funny after the fact.
Yeah, I think my dad was quite upset about that.
Oh, I can't imagine. And Owen Hart's match was cut.
Yeah.
Like about a minute.
He was really upset about that.
Wow. And then, of course, we have the famous Wembley Stadium SummerSlam match where he wrestled your Uncle Brett for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, this comes from Brett's DVD and his book. It was shared. And, of course, getting both sides of the story, I think, in all fairness, that Davey Boy, your father, wasn't in the, I guess, up and up. More being under the influence of substances at the time. And
that's like news to me. I'd never ever heard about that ever, because I remember that as well. Like I was 5, and I've had discussions with Brett about it, and my dad had never never this topic has never ever come up until Brett's book, and previous to that nobody's had this. But I have to keep in mind as well, it's like if that's what Brett remembers, then it's not right, but that's his, if my dad didn't answer the phone one time, then if therefore that makes my dad high, then okay, Brett, then that's your memory of it. Cool. But my dad, he was he had a staph infection in his knee, and I remember like the Dr. Black, I think his name was, he removed with the syringe removed like all the pus and everything out of it. It was really bad.
Yes, I can imagine.
And my dad had to travel with that, and he we stayed at my grandparents' house. I remember we took the train to Wembley Stadium, but like we walked around. We went to like Trafalgar Square and we're like outside Buckingham Palace with like Animal and all these different wrestlers. And I remember pigeons were everywhere. And I remember catering, seeing everybody. And that was the first time I think I met Sean Mooney. I saw him and I was like, oh my God, Sean Mooney. It was like, I remember because he was like always on TV then.
Right.
And so back then it was like, whoa, this is crazy. And it was stressful. I remember my dad was like super stressed.
Yes.
And I remember me and my brother, because we were in one bed, my mom and dad were in another. Me and my brother were having a kicking match in the bed. My dad's like, "Shut up!" I'm like, okay. But yeah, like it was we were sitting, me and my brother and my dad's family were sitting in the royal box,
Right.
which meant it was like way up in the nosebleed, so like everything was like super tiny. And like if you watch the match, like you see like these like screens where you see the match, and that's how we could watch the match. And then time goes on, and then it was like Brett's book came out, and I was like, say what?
Right.
And then Harry was like, huh? Like we were all like,
I don't remember that.
I don't remember this happening. And like, I'm not going to say, because you know what? I've been the first to see my dad under an influence of something, like, but that never ever like, and my dad was like, besides being super nervous, my dad was like on point. Like he was on his game. Like that was, and that's what annoyed me, because I'm like, why would you take away from any match, but why would you take it away from my dad's like number one moment in front of all, like, and I'm sorry, but that match wouldn't have been what it was. They wouldn't have had the crowd it was if it was Brett with somebody else. Right. It was Brett and Davey, and my dad won, and not taking away from Brett, but that was my dad's moment. Right. Okay, so like Brett's won, 5 world champions and stuff like that. My dad won that, and I don't know, but as well, like Brett's had a stroke, and like maybe his brain plays tricks on him, or like I know his brain has been affected. Right. So it's like, I've and it really upsets me. And when I talk to Brett about it now, and he's like, well, I wasn't in the best mind frame when I wrote it, and it's like that's fine and everything, but again, at the end of the day, it's my dad, and right. And I just didn't really think it was fair to him to do that, and don't know. I think Brett has a lot of physical and mental things. I think just all stemming again from Survivor Series and things like that. Just things that he can't let go of, and I think he carries around a lot of negativity with him, and it's not good. It's not healthy. Right. But hey, if that's how he remembers it, that's cool. But don't talk about it in front of me. Right.
So later on the same year, it was a short run with the IC Championship. You would lose it to Shawn Michaels, your not so favorite one.
No, that's sad. I can't even watch that.
Yeah, and it ended up being his last match with the company, as he was fired.
Yeah.
With the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah. We won't get into that. That's a whole different, can of worms there. And he eventually landed in WCW. So was it very similar when he was with the other company, WCW? Were you ever backstage?
I loved WCW as well. Like it was something new and exciting, and like I don't really have any memories with Sting. I don't recall ever really talking to him. Vader, I did. I loved Vader. Rick Rude. I remember seeing Ric Flair. There was like some like pay-per-view or something. You might know the name of it, but it was at like Universal Studios, or it was like in Orlando at the time. But I remember during like that weekend, like Harry and I did like headshot pictures, and then it was like this match. It was like just an exciting, fun weekend, and like we got to go to.
Might have been Bash to the Beach.
It may have been that. Yeah. I can't remember. I'll have to ask Harry, but I remember at the hotel seeing like Sid Vicious and Vader without his mask. I was like, whoa. And then we got to go on like all the Universal Studios rides, and the Jaws one really freaked me out. But yeah, that I had fun with that. Then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, he's not in there anymore. And then my dad had like some lawsuit with Cody Light, who was trying to fill up my mom or something, and then my dad beat him up. And then
oh boy,
next thing you know, and then time went on, and then he was back in WWF, and then it was like, okay, all good.
Right, that was in '94. Yeah, the SummerSlam match between Uncles Brett and Owen in the steel cage match, your entire family, well, at least a lot of them were ringside.
Yeah.
Were you there?
No, I was at my Aunt Ellie's. We were watching it. I was watching it with Ellie, Natty, Jenny, Muffy, Harry, and watching it. And that was fun. And then
it was amazing. Well, the build up, the lead up, the interview during the day where Jerry Lawler, in character, just like basically trash talking your grandparents. It's all it's all your fault. This you drove Owen to this and all this and that. I'm like, my God, he's really digging into them.
Yeah. I was like, oh, back then.
And this is something I personally always wanted to know. Towards the end of the match, Jim Neidhart jumped over the railing.
Yeah.
And it was your parents were standing ovation for Bret, who just won the steel cage match. And then Neidhart would attack from behind. Davey Boy clotheslined him, and he goes over the railing, and he took your mom with you. Now, was that part of was that meant to happen?
No.
Okay, I figured as much.
No.
Because they cut away almost immediately. And your mom,
I think my mom went along with it, though. The dramatic effect.
Because there was a quick shot of her holding her head, and at that time they didn't have the padded railings at the time. And
no, my mom's a good sport with it.
Okay.
I think she just rolled with the punches, and yeah.
Yeah, because I think Vince, he didn't point it out, but you can hear in his voice because he was doing commentating at the time. He kind of like, oh my God, Diane went over the railing as well. I was like, somebody get over there right away. And
I think back then it was like, you didn't, with women, like,
right. It was like you can't get physical like that.
No.
It didn't take too long to change that, but they did. After a year from that, he turned heel and he cut his hair.
Yep.
What's up with that?
Well, I remember Brett said, you need to get a haircut.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, oh, okay. And then he cut his hair. And then it's funny because once he cut his hair, everybody else cut their hair.
Right. It went from one transition to another. I think he just broke away from Lex Luger's Allied Power team up.
Yeah.
And then I think Lex was just leaving anyway. And like literally from one week to another, because back then, social media wasn't even a thing, wasn't even an idea. I remember watching Davey Boy on Raw one day with his long hair, his dreadlocks, and then he let him go at the time, so it was long curly hair.
Yeah.
And then the next week it's all been chopped off. I was like, no, that was like your image for a long time.
I know.
And,
I remember because he was away, and then the next time I had seen him, it was cut, and I was like, whoa.
Right. What did you do?
And I remember because when he cut his hair, he put all of his hair in like an envelope that I had kept. But yeah, I was like, when my mom told me like he's cut his hair, and I was like, really? And then we picked him up from the airport, and I was like, say what?
Who's that guy that looks like my dad?
I know. I was like, this is crazy. It took a little bit to get used to, but
right. As a fan, yeah, I did as well. And in '96, you briefly mentioned this before. Your mom got involved with the storyline with Shawn Michaels, and that must have been just crazy as the daughter listening to all this and not knowing exactly what was going on behind the scenes.
I didn't really understand what was going on. I just remember she was away, and then like my aunt, or like if it was my aunt, it was my teacher, Miss Jackson, that was watching us, and I was like, huh? I didn't really understand. But I was still rooting for her.
Yeah.
Whatever was going on. Because, I loved Shawn Michaels when I was little. Like, Shawn Michaels was, my first little crush. And, he gave, toys to give to my mom to give to me. Right. And I remember, I saved them all and collected them. And I was like, and so when it was, their storyline, I'm like, no, he doesn't, I knew, the deal.
Right.
But, yeah, it was really weird. It was,
right.
Again, that was one that took time to get used to. But luckily, kids weren't really watching wrestling, Monday Night Raw, late at night, so they didn't really ask me about it.
Okay. So you were safe there.
No, I was safe there. But I was like, huh? When she's like, I know that you want me. And I was like, why isn't my dad, doing anything? It's he's just standing there with his arms crossed. I was like, what's going on?
Well, in storyline, he was already lowered up, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do much now.
No.
Did you ever point out to your mom after In Your House, Beware of a Dog, there was that double pin between Davey and Shawn in the ring, and she's walking away with the championship belt, but she's holding it up upside down. Did you ever point that out?
No,
Mom?
I never pointed it out, but I remember somebody showed it to me, and I was like, oh, damn.
Now,
bless her heart.
Yeah. Now, this one I was really, I was looking for, I guess, visuals for this. I'm talking about Canadian Stampede.
Yeah.
You were there. I rewatched the Hart Dynasty biography that's on the network. And you made an appearance. And while I was doing my research, putting everything together, I'm like, she mentioned she's there, but I don't see her. You were blonde.
Yeah, I dyed my hair blonde then.
And that just drove me nuts because I don't see her. And then I watched the Hart Dynasty DVD, and there you are
And then they like do like a little circle. On
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, if after a while, okay, this looks bad on me, because if someone walks in to the where I was doing my research and say, "What are you doing?" I'm looking for this little girl on screen. So I'm like, yeah, that would look bad.
No. Yeah. Yeah, I was dyeing my hair blonde then. I was getting like the dark roots, but I was really into the Spice Girls, and like at that time, Ginger, Jerry Halliwell, had like the blonde hair, so I was coloring it like that. Yeah.
Did your dad ever tell you not to watch too much of Raw at the time?
Oh no, he was. My mom told me not to, because I remember she walked in my room and I was doing the DX, and she, oh my god, she was so mad. And I was like, oh, and she like was like, oh, man.
Like, that's it. I'm cutting off Raw and Nitro, no more.
Yeah, she was like, she scolded me, like she was so mad. But yeah, like, and then like there'd be like the DX, like when they had like the old Titantron and like the girls like humping the floor or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's when like my mom's like, you can't watch this.
Yeah.
Which I understand, and my dad was like, yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
That was the extent of it. But then once, obviously, my dad wasn't there anymore. I never watched WWE ever.
No more of a point to watch because your father's not there anymore.
No.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the Montreal Screwjob?
I was like, I didn't really understand. Like, I just remember my dad was leaving WWE, and I was like, why is he leaving? Like, I didn't understand, like, why. I didn't really, because at that time they were filming, like, Brett's whole thing, but they were filming a thing about my family, and then this whole thing had happened, and then they captured all of this, so it was like, okay, well, it's about Brett now, which kind of worked in Brett's favor, I guess, but I just didn't really understand it. I was like, because I remember my dad, I was telling him, I was like, can we go do this? Can we go to the Calgary Tower? Can we? And he was like, no, once I'm with WCW, we can go do this. Because he was supposed to have like a bunch of time off, like more time off and more money. So it worked out better for him. But he still had to pay $100,000 to leave his contract with WWF at the time. But I remember like when he said like, oh yeah, we'll do this, and but I thought like, okay, well, I'll get more time with my dad. That's cool. And we did, like, we went to England and we went to Spain, and I got to see my grandmother and my aunt for one last time before they passed away about several months later.
Yeah.
And then when the thing with Brett happened, I was like, say what? And then I remember I said to my dad, because in the documentary, Julie's like, I know you guys are all going to have a party after this. And I said to my dad, I'm like, what did they do? He's like, they had a party.
Yeah.
And I was like, for real? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh,
wow, man,
that's cold. That's bad.
So was there much chaos in the family afterwards? Arguing?
No, but when my dad, he never spoke to Brett really when they were in WCW. He spoke more to Owen. And I remember seeing Owen coming to our house, and he used our tanning bed. And yeah, I saw Owen more than I saw like Brett, but like Brett, like they didn't really speak. And it was just kind of like, and when my dad, when he was on WCW, I didn't really watch it. I was like, it was on like at a weird time as well. And I remember it was like super cold and like dark in Canada, and like the times it was on it, I was like, I'm just not really into this. Like, and then my dad's back injury happened, and then and then I'd see him wrestling, and I was like, something's not right here.
Right.
And then he'd be at home just like in bed all day, and it was just very depressing. And
yeah, that was going to be one of my future questions here in a moment. But Brett and Stu Hart would eventually be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. From your understanding, how does it work to get to be chosen?
Man, I wish I had the answer to that. It's they choose like their five. It's all like political. If I'm understanding, it's all like they have like they need the woman, they need this person, they need that person, they need the one posthumous person.
They need a tag team. They need a
so
celebrity.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not saying like anything bad about this. Just the way it is. And I don't know when it turned that way, because I think when Brett was in it, I don't recall it being like that. But I think over time, it's like this is their little box for it. And but I don't know. I really don't know. But I think, honestly, people are going to be waiting a long time for it in regards to my dad getting inducted, unfortunately. And I wish I had a way to make that happen faster, but I don't. So, sorry.
Right. That was going to be a follow-up. it's going to be a little bit of a bloated question. Among many others, Brian Pillman, Owen Hart, Jim Neidhart, and of course your father, Davey Boy, deserve to be in. Unfortunately, many names have been placed into the Hall of Fame and were unable to be there to accept and give a speech, obviously. And here we are many years later after the passings of all these men mentioned, and I understand the recent passing of Jim Neidhart. My condolences, by the way.
Thank you.
But the more biggest name that's brought up is always Owen. Mm-hmm. And my understanding is it's not happening because of his widow, Martha.
Yes.
And what say you that she's preventing this?
Yeah, but like, and I get like it's not right, and I don't agree with it. But at the end of the day, it's like it's Martha's call, and people just need to like respect that. And it's like I don't really take the Hall of Fame like that seriously, because it's like if they've got all these people in it before my dad or before Jim Neidhart, even when he was alive, it's like you can't really take it like that seriously or to heart. But lots of fans like they want to see Owen. But it's Martha's call, and Martha she's got a lot of wounds still, and she's still really, really hurt. And and I can't blame her. Like, and Owen, he wasn't just Martha's husband. He was also a Hart family member. He was also an employee with WWF, and Owen liked what he did. Owen, work's work. And, you're gonna have your bad days and you're gonna have your good days. But Owen liked what he did, and like he had fun, and he was with his brother and his brother-in-law, and but I don't know how Martha remembers it, and maybe in her mind, like Owen hated it, and I don't know, but it's Martha's call. So.
Right, and from what you just said there at the end, there are a lot of rumors about that, what he did and didn't like, and storylines with at the time Jeff Jarrett and Deborah McMichael. He declined that. So I
know he didn't really like that, but Owen was a good sport. He knew the wrestling. He knew the deal, but. What can you do?
Right. So the day should come that you hear the announcement your father's being inducted, and I would assume the family would accept. But who would you want to see be the one in doing the actual induction? Who would you pick? So
like with WWE, they've got for instance, when Macho Man got inducted, it was Hulk Hogan doing the thing, right? And then after it was Lanny Poffo that accepted it.
Right.
Okay. So if there would be like the person that would be doing the talking, and then to accept it. Well, obviously we'd have to accept it, me, Harry, and my mom, and then the first person to do like the talk.
The intro, yes.
The intro. I would say, who are my options here? I don't really know who are my options.
Well, a fan will probably automatically jump to Bret Hart.
No.
Okay, so he's off the list.
No.
Well, how about any current...
That's what I was thinking. Like, who are my options there?
Right. I mean, would it be another relative that's been just as active?
Like, if I could, it would probably be Stu Bennett, the one who was Wade Barrett, because he was a big fan of my dad. Like, my dad, he was like his hero. So, but he's not in the company anymore.
Right.
I don't really know. It'd have to be maybe I'd say TJ, maybe. But it'd probably have to be somebody who did my dad wrestle a lot. It wouldn't be Shawn Michaels, no. Man, see, that's a tough one. I don't really know. I don't know.
Okay.
I would say one person, but he wouldn't like that, so I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
And I wouldn't choose that person either. But okay. I don't really know. I don't know who would be the. No, not Brett. No.
Okay.
No. It would have to be like somebody British.
Right.
Somebody British in there that either had history with my dad or is like a newcomer. Not a newcomer, but like Wade Barrett, like that.
Right.
If Wade Barrett was still there, I'd be like him. he would do the intro.
Hands down, Wade Barrett.
Wade,
yeah. And does that make sense? I do remember him speaking, I think with Wrestle Talk.
Yeah.
He did mention your father plenty of times and how admired he was from his work.
Because my dad was supposed to go back to the UK in the fall of 2002 for, he was going to do appearances and shows, and Wade Barrett was going to be on those shows at the time. So he was like so looking forward to meeting my dad, and then unfortunately my dad passed away, so it didn't happen. But yeah, there's lots of like little ties and things, so I would choose him.
Okay, well, it's as close as confirmation as we'll get coming from Georgia Smith. You mentioned this earlier in '98 when you left WCW from a severe back injury in a tag team match with Jim Neidhart. They defeated Alex Wright and Disco Inferno, and it was clear something was wrong with Davey Boy. He could barely keep up, Disco over his shoulder, and find out later that there was a trap door for the Ultimate Warrior later on for his appearance, and no one from the back smartened up the wrestlers from everything I've gathered. So, do you know or remember if WCW took care of your father at this point or afterwards? Not at all.
Nope.
Wow.
Like, I was saying to my mom, I was like, why didn't he like sue them? And she was like, well, you know, at the time, it's like that's, you know, in wrestling, that's what injuries happen. So like that's.
But
But I'm like, well, he couldn't have made. What happened if he like didn't walk again or like? But my dad had like severe problems for the remainder of his life, and then it led to like his addiction, and like my dad couldn't work, and it was really bad. So it's like, you know, looking back on it, like my dad should have sued Turner companies.
And it was a spinal infection, my understanding.
So bad. It was so bad. It was like a domino effect.
I mean, injuries happen, I get that. You know, dislocations, break a bone here and there. But how often do wrestlers wrestle on a ring mat?
So bad.
And it's applied with a trap door. That's not even part of the ring itself. And it's, oh my goodness, it
was bad because there was some, before they'd wrestle, there'd be like certain wrestlers that would be doing like lines of coke before the match. My dad was like, say, what?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? And it was like, it was just like a big party of like, do whatever we want. And, you know, and yeah, it's just like no thought, no care, no, it was, just a big gong show. And that then,
right.
Yeah.
Do you follow the WWE today?
Yeah, I still watch some of the stuff. Yeah, I still watch it.
So what do you think of this upcoming Evolution pay-per-view? That's tomorrow, matter of fact.
I think it's really good, actually. You know, people can say what they want about like Stephanie McMahon, but she's with the times. Like she knows women like are evolving. Like she knows what she's doing, and you know, credit to her. And it's a major change, and you know, it might. And as well as like, you know, Natty and Ronda Rousey, they were on Rachel Ray yesterday, and it's like she's just bringing like a whole new audience to it, which I think is really good. And it's not like it's women showing athleticism and you know, telling a story. It's really good.
What is the Davey Boy Smith Cup?
Oh, so Wrestle Talk did Alex Shane with the one guy who won it. Now he's on the British NXT, but for his shows, he just asked me. He was like, "I want to do like a final match and have like the Davey Boy Smith Cup, and like they win it and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds really good." And I've gone to some of the matches for it, and it's good as well to see like the younger wrestlers, and they're like they tell me like how much my dad meant to them, and winning this, and I think it was really good at the time. I don't know if I honestly still doing it. I'm not really on the pulse of things there, but yeah, it was a tournament that they had annually. That was pretty cool.
In the famous words of Bruce Lee, the key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering. Would you say your father's been immortalized in recent time? A lot of fans, especially young ones, have been asking about him and talking about him. Would you say your father's immortalized at this time?
I think he is, but I think more things need to happen for him to be actually immortalized. There needs to be a DVD. There needs to be, you know, he still is, but there still needs to be lots of things that need to be done. A little checklist.
Okay. We're getting there, I think.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. But yeah, in regards to the UK and my dad, totally. Yeah, but worldwide, still needs little tweaking.
Gotcha. So where can the fans follow you on social media?
They can follow me. I'm on Twitter at GeorgiaSmith87, my birth. They can follow me on Instagram. They wouldn't let me have 87 on there, so I'm on Instagram at Georgia J. Smith. J, not like Homer J. Simpson. And my middle name's Joyce, so Georgia J. Smith. And I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/GeorgiaSmith7. 7's my lucky number, so I like 7 a lot. And that's it, right? I got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Cool. Any chance of a follow-up interview?
Yep.
Yep. So.
Yep. Don't know if I've got anything more exciting to say next time, but I will definitely.
Well, between now and change could happen for the better.
Change could happen.
Give yourself 6 months to a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something should happen. I mean.
Yeah.
Even if you learn to still fight off pasta.
Well, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
It's like I gave in. 2 hours after the interview. Yeah, it was calling me.
I'll be washing myself with a rag and like in The Simpsons.
Yes.
A rag and a stick.
Well, I want to say it's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
I mean, it's not something I do all the time, but I figured.
Why not?
You're right. And the worst thing that she could say is no, and that's okay. But given the reasons you shared to do this, I didn't show it, I didn't say it, but I was just overwhelmed by it. But I can't thank you enough for coming out and sharing some stories, not only about yourself, but your father. I know there's going to be at least one person, well, you didn't ask her this. Well, it was more about getting to know Georgia Smith, the person, getting to know what she's about, what she's going to do. And, people make choices. In this case, you decided not to follow your father's footsteps, for your own personal reasons, and want to do something else for yourself in life and in career.
Yeah. Yeah, and people, I'm not saying me with wrestling, it's complete. I'm not going to physically wrestle, but maybe, in some capacity, I might be someday. Don't know.
Right. And one last question. I don't know if you were aware of this. Micah Rotunda.
Yes.
Is also alumni.
Yeah.
Pretty much did the same thing where didn't follow her father nor her brother's footsteps. She's just doing her own thing. She's
good for her.
Right, pretty popular radio personality out here in Tampa, and she's doing really well for herself.
Yes, she is.
And Vale Alawani saying very similar.
Yep.
And she even said she's involved, but just not at actual the wrestling portion of it, but still involved, but still doing her own thing.
Super she's like a spider. She's got 8 legs that is typing here, doing this.
Yeah, she's multitasking all the time and still finds time to later on you guys are going to hang out for a little while. And so she's
one that runs on no sleep. And I'm like, how the hell do you do this?
I still try to figure those out. I fall asleep thinking about it.
I know.